Yeah, the hunt is on. Every step I take is with my gauge. I'm selling dope. I can't live on fucking minimum wage. A young black man, now you know what that means, G. A hard life, and ain't nobody hiring me. Too black, too strong for this fucking little system, man. No Uncle Tom, so I'm fucking up that little plan. So fucking scared that I might just up and retaliate. You ask me why, should my heart be filled with hate? Motherfucker past, talking about shit that's happening here today. I'm on my knees, oh Lord help me control this rage. I'm being teased like a beast locked within a cage. They're setting traps, and almost killed me twice, you see. They won't feel safe till they got me hanging from a tree. I'm still running, but I got the Lord on my side. Put a brick on the corner for my homies that have fucking died.
What's up, man? This T.O.G. and Barilla, man. What's up?
What's happening, man? I'm just chilling. What's up with you?
Okay, you already know, man. We're happy to be here, man. We got another week going.
Man, another whole.
You know, sometimes I sit back and think about how many weeks we've been doing this. We haven't missed a week since August of, 2021?
Right.
That's when we started.
Right.
August 5th, 2021.
August 5th now.
We haven't missed not 1 week. So
yeah.
Kudos.
Oh man, that's all right. It's been so natural and just like, you know, it's like the conversation we were having in the house way before we had the podcast. You know what I'm saying? So instead of doing it at the house, we brought it to the studio. Yeah. So it's you know, I mean, it's just natural. It's to me like therapy sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because you get ready to get it on out of, you know, come behind your business, and we're able to create a platform to get people to that won't maybe not see, they get to see them. Yeah. Okay.
So how was your week, bro? You already know how we do it.
Oh man, look, I've been in training. I've been doing all type of stuff. I mean, this new job is giving me a lot of little looks. You know, it's a lot of different emotions. You know what I'm saying? The knowledge, just growing and looking at the future of it. And I'm looking at the future, and I'm saying, you know, okay, this might be something. And then just being able to be free, be me, not worrying about having any hang-ups about who I am. Either accept me or don't make me no difference. You know what I'm saying? That's the type of thing I had to go in a lot of these places with. And a lot of times, you know, people don't want to accept you in that. But then when you make your own platform, they ain't got to accept because you accept yourself. So, you know, these type of things have been going through, along with, you know, that family life feeling good. Gotcha. Home life is great. Cool. You know, my dog getting bigger.
Not the dog.
The dog getting bigger. This dude, I'm finna send him training though. You know,
he's a big dog. That's a big
it's a big
He ain't
dog.
even a year old yet.
Nah. I'm gonna send him training.
A horse.
Yeah, that's a big old dude.
Yeah.
yeah. What's up with you though? How you been going?
Man, so my week been funny. So I'm gonna tell you some fun stuff in a minute, but my week kind of been up and down because of parenting. So I'm gonna go back to parenting. Okay. And I think we had this conversation. It made me like when you got your own kids. Like, for me, it's hard to be tough on them.
Right.
Right. And so they got their report card this week just passed.
Right.
And so I'm used to my kids making A's, and B's. And me and my wife were just talking about, well, our kids never made a C. Never. And so one was in the 8th and one was in the 6th. So the 6th grader finally brought a C home. And the punishment is, okay, that mom had to take, or me, or whatever, had to take the phone away.
That seemed like it hurt you even to say that.
So what it was, the whole while leading up to report card time, mom was telling the 6th grade daughter, like, hey, you got the AB honor roll. You got the AB honor roll, but she was looking at it wrong. And so the day she got the report card, she got a C. And so I'm like, hey, look, don't take the phone away. So I'm still in, you know, and I'm like, don't take her phone away because you told her she got the AB. So they were like, no, mama looked at it wrong. So I'm like, the rule is the rule. So we ended up having to take her phone. And I'm like, you know, it like killed me so cool. So we did that. And so I've been watching my little man. He's 6 years old in the kindergarten. Right. So the other day, his 8th grade sister texted and said, a girl just hugged him in school. Right. He got school. And so they keep saying a little girl like him. So he come back and say, Dad, well, Mom, Dad, this girl like me and another guy. Yeah. Remind you that in kindergarten. Remind you that in kindergarten. Right. So I'm like, okay, I don't say that. So the day he get in the truck and say, Dad, the girl like me and 2 other guys. I said, So his cousin turned around, which is the great nephews. They ride home too.
Right.
One of them turned around and said, "Hey, look, if she liking all y'all, don't like her. She a gold digger." So this a third grader saying this.
A third grade.
Third grade say she's a gold digger. So I turned around, I say, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Yeah, man, I had a girlfriend. Man, she was liking me. She like my brother. She like some other guys." And I said, "Why you call her a gold digger, man? What make you come up there?" Man, and remind you, that girl, he talking about 7 years old. He said, she asked for money. I said, "What type of money she asked for?" He said, "Well, she asked me for $300.
What?
And she asked my brother for $500. I couldn't stop laughing. I'm in the truck dying. I said, "A gold digger at 7?"
Man, get out of here, man.
So that been funny, man. So that was my story.
Oh Lord, man, these children, man,
7.
really?
Yeah, gold
7?
digger.
Oh man,
Can you imagine a 7-year-old asking a dude for
man,
500?
I can't even imagine that even conversation.
So we had to tell them brothers don't talk to the same girl. You know,
yeah, go on
like,
school.
that's
yeah.
a bro code. You don't do that. So
yeah. So
yeah.
tonight we're gonna get together with some people from the Greater Birmingham Ministry, and we're gonna talk about voting. Voting is a very important pillar in our society. I unfortunately lost my right to vote, but I'm working every day to get it back diligently.
Gotcha.
Okay, and they, voting has lost its power, has lost its punch in the neighborhoods, not in the polls. Now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It still had the same power it has in the poll, but it has lost its allure in the neighborhoods and in the communities that we come from sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So the things I would like to do, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe that is because we don't have the information that we really would like to have to do the things that we do as far as voting go.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, let's talk about voting. Let's do some things about voting. So without further ado, I want these two young ladies to introduce themselves. Have at it.
Hi, I'm Amanda Cherry from Greater Birmingham Ministries. I'm a community organizer.
Hi, Amanda.
Thank you.
And I'm Dory Miles. I'm a volunteer with Greater Birmingham Ministries, and I do a lot of voting rights restoration.
Okay.
She's a super volunteer. She's like basically a staff member, so we're grateful to have her.
Okay. So
Thank you.
So moving forward, can y'all kind of explain what you do? Explain.
Yeah, so I work a lot on voting rights and specifically voter education or election education. We put together these election guides. I don't know if y'all can, I think you can see me in the camera, where basically we just, there's a lot of barriers to voting in Alabama, and one of our goals is to break down those barriers, and so we want to help people navigate the systems. And also one barrier is like lack of information. Sometimes it's really hard to find information about candidates. So that's why we put together the election guide. It's a definitely collective effort. I think 50 or more people had their hands in creating this guide, and even more in getting it out into the community. So yeah, y'all can check it out. And then, I don't know, we do so many things, but Dory, I'll let you talk about what you do.
Sure. So when I got to Birmingham in March of 2019, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. Yeah, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn
New
in the
York.
house.
Yo, son. Yeah.
And I spent most of my adult life in Los Angeles. And so when I got to Birmingham in March of 2019, I learned that the law had changed here in 2017 around who could be eligible to vote. And I learned that when this law changed, there were like 300,000 people immediately affected, whose rights, whose crimes were no longer considered crimes of moral turpitude. So they were no longer stopped from voting.
Hold up, stop.
Sure.
Because I don't want you to pass nothing when there's a question. I know. Let's talk. What is moral turpitude?
Well, so that's a great question, because the 1901 Alabama Constitution, which unfortunately was created expressly to establish white supremacy.
And it says that. It actually says that.
Yeah, that is in the archives.
In
okay?
1901.
1901 Constitution.
The guy who was the chairman of the convention,
What is black? What his name was?
John Knox.
John Knox. John
and,
Knox.
and he said that.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It-
So, well, and one of the ways that they were going to establish white supremacy, see, they knew how important voting was.
Right.
Okay. So they figured if they could take black people's voting rights away, because there were all these freed black people who were going to have full citizenship, and these white plantation owners, rich people, feared that they were going to lose their power. And so they had to figure out ways pretty quickly to do things so they didn't lose their power. And what they focused on was voting and stopping black people from voting. So they said if you commit a crime, this was in the Constitution in 1901, if you commit a crime of moral turpitude, you lose your right to vote. And they never defined moral turpitude.
So anything.
Exactly. Anything.
So I had to, like, for me, it used to be like voting didn't matter. And when, I done voted, don't get me wrong, but it really didn't matter until, matter of fact, Tim was like, if it didn't matter, why would they be trying to take it from you?
Right.
So I had to think about it like,
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Why it's so important? Like, what would you tell a person that, just say, per se, what I just said?
Yeah.
It really don't matter. So
Well, honestly, what I tell somebody like that is I say, guess what? When you say you don't care about voting, the 1%er, the rich white person, is laughing his ass off because he didn't even have to do anything. You just gave him your power
Gave it to him.
with him not doing anything. Now, how easy was that?
Yeah.
And if you don't think that he's just standing up there laughing at you because you did that,
Yeah.
then you know.
Yeah, you're crazy.
You're right.
Because see, it was all about economics, it was all about power. And when they stopped and all the different color things stopped, or so-called stopped, they had to find other ways to do it. You couldn't enslave people no more. You couldn't take their rights, because they had to become full-fledged pseudo whatever citizens. So you had to find ways. That's when they came up with the vagrancy laws and all the convict leasing and things of that nature. And as they started that and started working on us, and not only were they working on us economically, they were working on us psychologically by setting these rules and putting that certain fear. And then killing the culture, constantly killing, with gentrification and everything. Talk to me something about gentrification, Amber. What is that? How does voting help decrease that?
Do you have a lawyer answer for that one, Dory?
I mean, you give me a community answer.
Yeah.
Well, I just need a minute.
Well, I mean, pretty much everything that we go through is affected by who we elect to represent us at some level of government. So gentrification is all about housing and how many, whether there are houses that are affordable and, whether people can come in and build in neighborhoods and in what ways they can build and how they have to include the community when they come up with these plans. And so if people, mistakenly, if they think that who you vote for city council, for example, or, for judges, all these positions are elected offices. And so who you vote for is important, but also important is if you don't vote, then it's only the people who are voting that get to make all those decisions that are going to affect you.
I think
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
we always talk about at GBM, like we want to, one of our goals, we've been working on issues for decades to public transit, ban the box, and we realized that we weren't going to make any difference on the issues that we care about if the people in power didn't reflect our values and didn't really represent our communities. Now, when we say represent our communities, we think demographics, you know, the skin color, economic class, and all of that, and that matters too. But it's also about values. And I think that sometimes, you know, someone may look a certain way, but that doesn't mean that they agree with our values or really care about gentrification, or like maybe they're just trying to make a buck off of our communities. So we need to be really paying attention to what these people are really about, and when we're deciding to vote for them, not just if they have a catchy slogan or if they dress nice or something.
So basically you're saying that in all actuality, in the voting realm, that general elections, as far as, you know what I'm saying, the big elections are cool, but local elections are what really matters for the local people, basically. Okay, so knowing who these votes are and knowing who these candidates are. And this is one reason that you made the election guide, right? Mm-hmm. For this election right here, you're saying that, well, tell me about what's in the election guide. Talk to the people, tell them what and how y'all come up with it. What do y'all offer in it? Why is it important? You know what I'm saying? What about voting? Like when you vote, like I go in, do I have to vote all Democratic? Do I have to vote all Republican? I mean, a lot of people don't know how to vote. Mm-hmm. They get in there and they get confused or get scared because the voting, you know, I don't care how far we get away from the poll taxes and the voting restrictions that fear, that trauma still embeds those lines we come in. They still hold those same trauma. When you go to voting, you can see the line, you can see the people, and you can see the tension and standing up in that voting. You can see the tension between white and black people just by standing and voting. Like we going in there voting against each other, and it's not like that. And especially if you're voting in the same spot, then you're in the same communities. Even though you might have different perspectives of what you see your community coming, you should have the same goals of what you really want for the community. You might have different ways of achieving it. So, you know what I'm saying? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think that's, you know, you're talking about the tension or people are nervous going into the polls. And one of the things we tell people is you can actually take this guide into the polls with you. You can mark it up, decide beforehand who you want to vote for, use the check boxes, take it in. I think some of us feel like it's like going into a test, or you're going to, you know, you can't bring your phone, you can't bring any written materials, but that's not true. You can bring your phone. You can even research, got people sitting right there. You can make a list on your phone of people you want to vote for, but you can also do it in the guide and mark it up, and even read the guide sitting in the polling location. So something from the beginning, we wanted to make it a collective thing. So it was a group of volunteers that came together to make this, and we talked about, well, what are the issues that are important to us? What do we want to make sure to include? But we realized that we didn't represent the whole community. And so since the beginning, we've done these focus groups with like GBM clients, polling people on social media, like asking, like, what are the issues that are important to you in your communities? What do you want us to put in the guide? And a lot of the stuff that people told us was really local issues. You know, we care about our roads, we care about trash pickup, we care about
That's him.
Yeah.
That is my
I mean, you hitting all the points.
Our water bills,
Yeah.
everyday stuff. And this we did our first one in 2020, so it was a presidential year. And it's like, well, the president's not really going to impact your trash pickup in Birmingham. But we realized, like, that's where the local elections really come in, like you were saying. Like, these affect you on a, you know, I think the national elections affect you too, but on a day-to-day basis, right, on the local. Just that, like, those basic issues is what people have told us. So we've tried to make sure that we include those things and ask candidates questions that reflect what the community cares about. And, you know, at GBM, we support people in poverty. We're trying to end poverty. And so a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the guide are related to poverty issues.
You touched on almost everything, because so you said the road. Me and my wife be riding. I talk about this. I was like, this is not going on per se in Mount Brook, Vestavia, 280 type stuff. When you come over in our neighborhoods and I'm literally playing cat and mouse with my truck. I'm dodging every pothole, right? So we don't have, and if it is over there like that in Mount Brook, it's fixed soon. So that's one of them. Trash, you mentioned that. I had a big problem with the trash because they were running whenever they wanted to run. Sometimes they don't run. And then it got to a point where, okay, they changed to where they don't pick up boxes anymore with the trash. You had to break it down. But they didn't let me know that. I mean, my stuff just sitting out there getting rained on. So that's another one. Somehow we got to figure out this Walmart thing. Look, I'm telling you, somehow we got to figure this out because, all right, so over in our neighborhood, over in the Roebuck Walmart, I'm just calling it out, the Walmart in Roebuck, we walk in there, there's no buggies. How you gonna shop? Ain't no buggies. All the buggies out there. And then when the buggies on the inside, shit, all the wheels tore up. So I'm like, you go to Publix, those wheels not tore up. And so I just like, we gotta do something. And shit, they know it. So you touched on something.
Y'all put it right on the soapbox.
I was like, what's the Walmart issue? Oh, man. Walmart drama.
I took my son in there yesterday, 6 years old, showing him how to shop. We going there like, Dad, no buggies. I said, this is why I tell your mom every time we come. I hate going, but it's convenient. It's closer by. So I took him in there like, okay, son, no buggies. So we got to walk with stuff in our hands.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then you get up to the restaurant. Oh, these out of order. You can't.
But now let me show you something.
Yeah.
What is the main reason? See, in Vestavia, they going to the polls.
Exactly.
I mean, they voting them for the hand. People got them elected officials up there. They got to get their votes.
Yeah.
They got to go talk and make sure they know, okay, this is what we want, and they tell them what they want. Are we doing the same thing and the numbers we need to be doing them in? So, see, until we do and step up the way we need to step up for our own neighborhood, how can you say why they ain't doing something when you don't care if they're doing it or not? Until you see it, we got to take care of our own.
So the political participation in Alabama is so bad. Alabama's like the third worst state in the country in terms of the amount of political participation, okay? And what that has resulted in, I remember when I first got to Birmingham in 2019, immediately a law was passed restricting abortion. It was the most restrictive at the time. It was the most restrictive abortion law in the country. A woman could not have an abortion. There were no exceptions. Didn't matter if the child was conceived through rape or incest. No exceptions. That's what the Alabama legislature passed. Now, the majority of Alabama citizens didn't agree with that. The majority of Alabama citizens, it's true, were conservative. They didn't want abortion to be legal in every circumstance, but the majority of people did not want women who had been raped or women who had become pregnant because of incest to have to carry that child to term. And so what kind of system is it where the legislature is, they call it a supermajority of Republicans. So there is no balance, and these very radical representatives can do whatever they want, basically, and it's not representative of the people of Alabama. There's no accountability.
Wow.
And this is what keeps this state red. This is what keeps this state unbalanced. Because if you have a red head and a black body, something ain't right. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got to change these things to understand that. And when I say black, I'm not talking about just racial. I'm talking about because poor white is the new black also. So don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Brown people, the new black, and all this go down. You know, these are the people. These are the majority of the people that's having the problems. But if we don't get out here and use what we have, the tools that we have. See, a lot of times people be sitting up thinking, well, I ain't gonna do it because you how you know it ain't working.
Yeah.
You know, one thing I know, I mean, you can just be in a fight and just swing a punch. You don't know if it's gonna hit or not. Just swing.
You might knock him out.
Just swing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They go all the way back to the story of David. David went out there. They said, David, put on his armor. David said, I can't use this. I ain't never used this in no battle. But I can pick up these rocks right here. Yeah. And I just need one of them. So you never know that one vote could be the rock that knocked the Goliath out. Yeah. Your one vote. Your one vote. Ain't nobody telling you not to vote. Nobody telling you go to vote. But I'm telling you why everywhere in this society, if they want to protect something, they want to keep something from, they're gonna put a police and they're gonna put authority around. They're gonna do all that, right? Mm-hmm. In the bank, you got what? Security guard sitting right there. Exactly. In the store, you got security guard. Riding these streets, you got police. When you go to the polls, who's standing up in there? So that's something got to be important in there that they're trying to guard.
Yeah. So I kind of figured it out. So I'm a big mob movie guy.
Right.
But every time I watch mob movies, that's in there. Political, the power. You know, they always talking about putting their money behind so-and-so or whatever. So I said, well, damn, you know, people with money putting their money behind somebody. So I knew it had to be something. So, like I say, back in the day, like, for me, it was like, voting, man, I don't care. My vote don't count. I was one of those, and I started paying attention, like, there's something with this voting thing. Because people with money that want the power, they put their money behind certain people to get certain things they want done. So I get it now. Yeah, definitely.
And I think a lot of people think that like voting doesn't matter because we think about the Electoral College, which is like state by state. So you feel like if you live in a red state or a blue state, you don't have like a say in that. And I mean, there's some truth there, but I think that you have to think beyond the presidential election. Yeah. That's the one that gets the most coverage. But if you think about these local elections, they are decided sometimes by like two people. Yeah. So it is about who decided to get up this morning and get out to the polls.
Can y'all explain electoral votes? Can you kind of explain it?
The Electoral College?
Okay. Yeah, explain it.
Go ahead.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure, and I'll jump in.
Yeah, you can help me out. I'm nervous because Dory's a lawyer, she knows things. But the Electoral College was a system that started at the beginning of the country. I think it was because the people like literally live far away, and so they would take a vote as a state and then like go to the... Now I'm making stuff up. Okay, I shouldn't have started with the history lesson. Let me get to how it works. So essentially, each state, it's based on population. Each state has a certain number of votes that the state goes for. And so, like in Alabama, what the majority of people's votes are for the presidential election, that's where the Alabama's party or Alabama state votes go towards that person. So, do you know how many Alabama has?
Got about six, right? Seven.
Seven is based on the Congress numbers? Okay. So we have 7. So it's like even if 65% of Alabama votes Republican, but the other 35% votes for Democrats, all of the 100% of the... You're gasping like I'm saying something wrong. Okay.
I might be wrong about the 7.
Okay, well, we don't know. You'll have to look it up. This is a participatory thing. You can put it in the comments. Let us know how many we have.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is it's just they wouldn't have never thought about it or talked about it as much until the January 6th thing and the Electoral College with Donald Trump. What I want to understand is what does voting and redlining. You hear that word redlining. Mm-hmm. You hear that word about, along with gentrification. What does redlining and voting have to do with each other?
Well, so every 10 years there's a census, right? And the number of people, every single person, is supposed to be counted.
Right.
I mean, not everybody winds up being counted, but everybody that lives in the state of Alabama, for example, is supposed to be counted. And then based on that population count, we get a certain number of congressional, Congress people. And then it's up to the state legislatures to literally draw a map of Alabama for each congressional district. So let's say,
Okay, wait. Let me
Mm-hmm.
make sure I got and get what you're saying. You're saying that the elected people that they elect and we elect from our cities and counties go to the legislation, become legislators, and then they have the right to draw the lines for the voting. Okay, I just want to make sure these are the
Yes.
folks we elect here in our local elections.
that's why it's also so important, because they draw these districts.
They draw up the districts, the voting districts.
Right.
And what's important about the voting district?
Well, so what happens is, and what just happened in Alabama, they put all of the people who they believed had the propensity to vote a certain way.
Right.
They packed them literally, like, packing ice cream into into a container.
Yeah.
They packed all these people into one district.
Okay.
And even no matter where they lived. So it's supposed to be drawn geographically, basically, so that if you look at the state of Alabama, it would kind of make sense to see lines that corresponded kind of in a pattern, not crazy lines that went all over the state.
Like they was
It's like part of Birmingham down into the Black Belt, like over
Yeah.
a little bit. But then there's other parts of Jefferson County that are in the other
Right.
district. And so it's like,
And they know this because election after election after election, they look at the data to see how people voted.
Right.
So they have an idea of
Where they
how
gonna-
people vote.
Right. So you saying they basically packed say a bunch of Democrats in one
Yes,
area,
even though they should be spread
Spread
out.
out. Yeah.
And that would give
and that would give
more
a
districts.
challenge in each
Yes.
state. So you instead of having one person, you have a challenge in everywhere.
Exactly.
Oh, so they fixing the game. We
It is
call that
fixed.
they loading the dice.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, okay.
You know, I mean, you can kind of guess for most elections in Alabama who's going to win, or like which party's going to win the seat. But it doesn't have to be that way. You know,
Right.
it should be. That's because of how the districts are drawn to make it guaranteed one way or the other instead of a competitive.
Now
race.
y'all went up to D.C. to fight on this though, right? Then they have
Yes.
a case up there in D.C.
Yeah, we were at the Supreme Court.
Okay, big time, man. Did you see
Very
Kentucky?
big time. Yeah. Milligan versus Merrill.
Oh.
But Greater Birmingham Ministries was one of the plaintiffs. There were
in
several. Yes, there were several plaintiffs. even
Supreme
though-
Court action, baby. Listen now. Go ahead.
U.S. Supreme Court with Ketanji Brown Jackson.
Okay.
Listen, it was her second day on the bench of the U.S. Supreme Court, which is, a pretty
That's
incredible thing.
historical.
Yeah,
It
and I
is.
heard she was really teaching people from
Yes.
the bench. You know, she was really telling people how it is. And
Yes.
so making a name for herself and supporting our case, really.
So I heard.
Very much so.
So when you was talking about the census, people had to fill out the census.
Right.
So a lot of people don't fill out the census.
Exactly.
And
That's
then you even have homeless people in Birmingham. So how can they get not per se a accurate, but nowhere near?
right. So that was another thing that, Greater Birmingham Ministries was really involved in, and Amanda in particular led or was, very much in the lead of Greater Birmingham Ministries' efforts to really make sure that every single person in Jefferson County was counted.
Counted for. Wow.
Yeah, we were working on that, and then the pandemic hit. Right when we
Yeah.
had all these grand
Listen.
plans, and we had to pivot a little bit. But they also extended it, so we did work to get people counted in the census. Now with unhoused folks, they do talk to service providers and kind of get a head count from shelters or other people who work with unhoused people, or they go out to certain places. It's hard to get
Yeah.
exact numbers, but there is an effort to do that. But yeah, it's a challenging because people were nervous about filling it out. There was the the whole debate about whether the citizenship status should be on the census, and it's just a way of scaring undocumented people from filling it out. So there's a lot of challenges with that, and then that's really what leads into the redistricting process.
Because, our people, we kind of be scared to fill out stuff like that. Like, they won't know too much information or stuff like that.
Right.
That's the first thing we'll say.
Or, like, if you live in public housing, you don't want to admit that there's more people living there than are supposed to live there. Or if you have a warrant, you don't want to put your information out there. But it's they say it's safe, it's protected. It's not shared with other departments. But I understand the nervousness about it.
But what I'm thinking about that is why. Now this you shouldn't, because every year, every decade, new people come in. You know what I'm saying? It's new, people die off, new people come in. Yep. But the same trauma,
don't change.
I mean, that's what I'm sitting here listening at the same trauma that we've been dealing with for centuries.
Yes,
that's being perpetuated over and over again. We still talking about getting the vote.
Still fighting that battle.
And we had an earlier conversation. You said that why they don't just let everybody vote and just don't worry about no law to vote.
To me, sometimes we work hard in breaking down barriers. Dory has helped so many people get their voting rights back or be in that process, but sometimes, you just think this is our life's work, but we could just not ever deny anyone the right to vote. Like, we could just never take it away. Yeah, then Dory wouldn't have a volunteer job anymore.
Right.
She would have to do something else, or maybe you could go spend time at the beach or something.
I'd have to actually be a retired person. Go figure.
And maybe we elect the people that need to run the country the way they need to run it and not have to worry about all that in a way.
Yeah, that'd be nice. We're always talking about, like, this is how you navigate these complicated barriers in Alabama to vote, but also it doesn't have to be this way. We could change it. People in power can make it different. And so we got to keep pushing for that.
Absolutely. I was in Maine and Vermont over the summer. Those are two states that let everybody vote. They don't take a person's voting rights away. Even if you go to jail, if you do something, you don't do something, you can vote. And you know what? I had a beautiful time in Maine and Vermont.
Maine and Vermont. They the smallest little thing, but they just listen. They living.
Yeah, I mean, the food is good. It's beautiful. I'm just saying, it's not like you go there and you have to be terrified because everybody's voting.
And Bernie Sanders lives in Vermont. He went to high school at your high school.
That's right. Well, that's absolutely true. Go James Madison High School. Yeah, and PS 197. He ran track, and apparently
Bernie ran track.
Bernie was an athlete.
At PS 197. Yeah, now he's a little older than I am, so I wasn't there, at the same time. But apparently, we got a lot of recognition for our track team because of him. Mm-hmm.
Damn, Bernie.
Bernie been running all his life. Well, I really think that the more people get to understanding voting, the history of voting, and all the people that want to see the vote be a pillar of the society like it's supposed to be, and not being taken for granted for people who don't do it, or even demonized by the people who don't want to see you do it. If we can either come up with a way where we can all work together with this thing, what you think?
And I think I want to also encourage, we used to call these guides voter guides.
Right.
But then I was like, you know what? This guide isn't just for voters. It's for people who can't vote as well, whether if it's because you're not a citizen, or maybe you're too young, or maybe you have a felony conviction that disenfranchises you, you can still read this and know what's going on. And I think I want to encourage people that even if you don't have your voting rights right now, we can help you get those voting rights back. Dory's really great at walking people through the process, but also you can still be involved in your community, and we want you to be involved in your community. You know, we just had the neighborhood elections yesterday for the neighborhood associations. There's 99 neighborhoods in Birmingham, and each of those has a neighborhood association. And you don't have to be registered to vote in those elections. You don't have to be eligible to vote in those elections. So you can start locally with your neighborhood associations or volunteering with an organization and really make a difference in your community, whether you have the right to vote or not.
And I want people to, really know, though, that most felony convictions in Alabama do not anymore take your voting rights away. So that's a big deal. A lot of people are very mistaken about that. If you ask them, hey, are you registered to vote? They say, oh, I can't vote, I have a felony. It is not true in Alabama. In fact, things like drug possession, any kind of drug-related conviction, as a matter of fact, except trafficking. No drug-related conviction except trafficking takes your voting rights away.
That's a nugget.
And that's a big deal because a lot of people are in prison, in jail, out on the streets, not registered because they mistakenly believe that if they have a felony, they can't vote.
That's big because it was always, if you got a felony, I can't vote, period.
Not true.
Right? Or even people, we've run into people who, they just have a misdemeanor and they think that. They just think, I've done time, I can't vote. But, you probably can.
I haven't even checked into it. Because a lot of times, even when I went to the polls, I remember a lady telling me, you got to vote a certain way. If I'm voting Democratic, well, you got to vote all Democratic, or vice versa. If I'm Republican, you got to vote all Republican. Can y'all explain that? Do you have? Is that how it goes, or
no? Not in Alabama. Okay. I mean, I guess it's possible maybe that it could be that way still somewhere in the U.S. because elections are mostly run state by state, but not in Alabama. So in Alabama, if you want to split your ticket, so to speak, and let's say you want to, vote for a few candidates who are on the Democratic ticket, and then a few candidates who are on the Republican ticket, you do vote.
Or the Libertarians. There's some Libertarians running this time.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. You vote a straight ticket for one party, but then you check off on the other side the candidates from the other parties that you want to vote for.
Okay. A lot of times I won't even know who the candidates are.
And that's why we have this guide. So I think some people just want to bubble in you can do straight party voting. Straight ticket voting, is that what it's called? And then you just bubble in the party that you're in, and then you're done. You're in and out. But, I'm stubborn because I'm like, no, I want to know who I'm voting for. Exactly. And so even if I end up voting for mostly one party, I'm like, they're bubbling in everything. And my hand hurts at the end. But that's why I just think it's really important to choose your candidate, person by person, really look at their issues, and we did all the hard work for you. You can just take a look at our guide, and that information is there. Of course, you're welcome to do your own research beyond that, but we kind of give you the basics so that you can decide person by person. You might end up deciding, this party does represent me, and I'm going to vote for all those candidates, but maybe you'll be like me and you'll just bubble in everyone individually.
That's what I'd be wanting to do.
Because GBM is nonpartisan, right? They don't. You just want people to have the information. So what I'm saying, when you're dealing with the Greater Birmingham Ministries, not Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, anything, it's just pro people. Gotcha. It's a people's party. Whatever party you want to go to, they got the information to help you get there. They got the people. This whole guide have the people that's running. Historic information behind whatever they're doing or whatever, right?
Yeah, and there's also something that I found important when we're making this. We put job descriptions there. Like, what do these offices even do? Because some of them, I'm like, and I want to do, maybe y'all can help me. Maybe this can be like a spinoff from your podcast, but I want to go in the streets and film people. You know what they do on those comedy shows where they're like, what does the Secretary of State do? And then no one knows, and then it's funny. Well, most people, a lot of times we don't know what these people do. So we put that in there so you're clear on this is their roles and responsibilities, and then we have bios for every single candidate that's going to be on the ballot. Now, there's a couple that I couldn't find any information on, So we make a note of that. But most people have information in the guide. And then we also have, voting logistics, how you can register to vote, how you can vote absentee, and all of that. So we try to make it as easy as possible for you.
Now, do you have information that, like, okay, do you do a guide every voting thing? That's one question. But let me ask you this: do you have information within the guide that after this voting over with, you still can find out different information about voting in itself?
Yeah, so the stuff in the beginning of the guide is more generally how to register to vote. So there's some specific things like for this election, this is how you absentee vote, because if it's a municipal election, you go to the city clerk to do it. But if it's any other election, you go to the absentee election manager. So there's like little things like that might change per election. But generally the stuff at the beginning kind of lays it all out there, helps you think about how to vote in general. And then we get into the specifics of this election. And we have, for the last 5 elections, we've made election guides. So there's not an election next year in Birmingham, but I still might make a special election guide just about voting specifically in general, but like everything you need to know. But that's forthcoming. I might do that next year. We'll see. You can invite me back and I'll talk about it.
So okay.
Okay, the question was, if somebody wanted their rights restored, where can they go to get this information?
So there are 2 really good places. They can email me at gbmvotes@gbm.org, and I will get back with them and assist them through the process. Or they can go to our website, which is return-my-vote.com, and they can request a free consultation with somebody who is very trained and knowledgeable about all this stuff, and they will meet with the person via video chat or text or email or phone, whatever the person wants, and go through and help them determine their voter eligibility. If they need their rights restored, help them with the rights restoration process.
Cool.
But again, I want to emphasize that with people who have felonies, after the law changed in 2017, the chances are really good that the felony they have or the felonies that they've been convicted of do not take the voting rights away anymore.
Okay, well, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was saying, I think a lot of people, that was new to me, 2017.
Yeah, the thing is, like I've been working with this for a minute, working on getting my voting rights back and all that, which was a fight because I got to go through all type of hoops. But it's people out there that don't really see that they have it, and a lot of times it's because what I'm saying, I go all the way back to the poll tax and the voter restrictions from back in the day. I mean, why would I want to go and put myself in that type of stress? You know what I'm saying? Like I say, I go down there where they having the vote, walk in there to vote, and it's stressful.
Yeah.
The voting is stressful. I mean, they don't want to let you off work.
It's tense.
They don't want to. I mean, so it's powers that's working against it. Other than us not wanting to, it makes it inconvenient. So, my thing is, for the powers that be that's in there now, voting day should be a holiday. Everybody should be off work.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody off work.
Yeah.
This is a national pillar of our society. Yeah. Why should we have to go to work that day when everybody need to be making a decision about the future of our country? That's just how I look at it.
That's a good one.
Well, so I think everything you just said falls under the category of voter suppression.
Yes.
These are just different types of suppressing the vote. And guess who's doing that? Those same
1%.
white, rich people, okay, who are wanting the same power that the white supremacists wanted in 1901. It's still the same thing.
So what is the cutoff date to register to vote? Don't we have a cutoff date? Or
Oh, yeah, it's Monday, right? October 24th.
Yep.
So if you're not registered, please get registered before Monday. You can go to the registrar's office There's one in the Jefferson County Courthouse, and you can register to vote there. You can also do it online if you have an Alabama driver's license or an Alabama ID. You can do it at alabamavotes.gov. So yeah, I definitely get registered in the next few days, if you want to vote in November, and we want you to vote.
And what's
in November.
the age to be able to register to vote? What's the age?
Well, to be able to vote, you have to be 18, but I actually just learned that you don't have to be 18 to register. So I just was at a high school this week, and I registered a bunch of 17-year-olds because, you can go ahead and register. You'll be in the system, and then it'll become active when you turn 18. So, yeah, if you are getting close to 18, you can go ahead and register to vote.
You just can't vote yet.
Yeah, and let's say, I did meet a couple students who they're going to turn 18 in November before the election, and so make sure you go ahead and get your voter registration in before October 24th. If that's your case, even if you're not 18, you can register to vote. And then when you're turn 18 before the election, then you can
vote.
You can vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to just let y'all know that was very informational for me, at least. It was I learned some things I didn't know. I'm gonna be more in tune and voting. I'm be there.
Good. Oh, I wanted to make a little plug too. I forgot to mention that in this election guide, there's a whole section on the amendments. I think sometimes, a lot of times I'm like, what does this amendment mean? There's 11 to vote on in Jefferson County this time. Plus, we're going to be voting to ratify the recompilation of the Constitution. So I don't know if y'all remember 2 years ago, we voted to recompile the Constitution, take out the racist language.
Mm-hmm.
Dory was telling us the history of how the Constitution was formed. So we're taking out the racist language. It doesn't change the racist structure of Alabama's government, but at least takes out the racist language, and it also kind of reorganizes the Constitution so it just makes a little bit more logical sense in terms of organization.
So you're going to put whipped cream on boo-boo.
It's a small step in the right direction, but there are a lot of people who feel
all right, well, y'all, thanks for coming.
It's really not enough.
We good? We finna head out?
We really appreciate y'all for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.